Hello and welcome to this very special Power 50 webinar. My name is Polly Jean Harrison. I am the features editor at the Fintech Times, and I'm thrilled to be here today presenting this webinar, which is all about the year that we've just had and the year ahead. So 2023 has been a fantastic year for FinTech, another stellar year, of course. And in this webinar, we're going to take a look at some of the standout moments and the learnings for the industry in 2023, as well as looking ahead to 2024 with the help of our expert panelists to determine what the future innovation the industry has to offer. So a very topical webinar today, obviously coming to the end of the year, and I'm thrilled to have my panelists here with me. I have Okan Ozaltin, CPO at 10x Banking, and Will Monk, CPO at Napier. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
I'm really excited to really sort of delve in to this webinar and get this discussion going. But first of all, it would be great if I could get you to both give me an introduction, both to yourselves and to your company. So Will, why don't you go first?
Yeah, hi. Will Monk, I'm the Chief Product Officer for a company called Napier AI. We provide financial crime compliance solutions. Our mission is to drive automation across the AML processes across all sectors, all regulated sectors. So we have gaming, gambling clients, we have insurance clients, we have asset managers, wealth managers, banks, new and old. So that's Napier, and my role as Chief Product Officer is to make sure that our solution and our product stays industry leading and solves for existing and future challenges, particularly within the fintech space.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Okan, you next.
Hi, everybody. Okan Özaltın. I am the Chief Product Officer for 10x Banking, and we are a cloud-native core banking solution provider. So we provide core banking solutions for large and small-tier banks. And in my role as Chief Product Officer, I'm responsible for new product development, both in our core ledger solution and the surrounding products around it. So very happy to be here in this discussion.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for joining us as well. I'm really excited to really sort of delve into this because obviously it's been, as every year, it has been a big year for fintech. Lots has happened, lots has changed, lots of, things have changed on the horizon coming up. So I think what would be a great place to start is to look back at 2023 and what, in your opinion, has been a defining feature of the year. What has sort of really stood out to you? Okan, I'll go to you for that one first.
Sure. So I think about it as a macro level view and maybe product level view. So in terms of macro level view, of course, the things happened around the world around Ukraine invasion and inflation going up, interest rates going up. And those things led to valuations of fintech companies to go down. And it became harder to raise money for fintech companies. So I believe, and then in turn, this led to companies focusing more on fundamentals, being profitable, being more cash flow positive, not just purely on growth. So that changed some behavior in terms of how fintechs run themselves. And of course, there were many impacts to this. So companies who raised a lot of money in the peak now potentially had more difficulty doing that. In terms of product, of course, I think we are going to talk about this later as well. Of course, one big topic was accessibility to different AI solutions became easier. And I actually come from a different company that did fraud solutions using AI as well. Not the same area as Will, but similar, more transactional fraud. So I was familiar, but in 2023, there was more, I think, accessibility to those solutions. I think that's going to be interesting because more people see what's possible. That's going to generate more ideas and different solutions in the future. So those are my maybe two categories of observations in 2023.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Will, what do you think? What has 2023 stood out for you in fintech?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Orkan in terms of the operating environment that fintechs are running in, and the cost of money and the challenges that's had on top and bottom lines. I think the broad themes for me that have continued to run through 2023 um, in the fintech space, I think is one is the choice that is out there continues to grow for consumers and continues to challenge the traditional banking models. So, whether that be the growth in open banking, I think there's still the ever growing need for sort of instant gratification, seamless and connected digital journeys. So that sort of speed, that 24-hour service is something that consumers are demanding within that financial services space, and fintechs are having to constantly sort of feed and innovate in that. I think transparency has been another one. There's been ongoing evolution of the sort of custom duty type obligations in the fintech sector, and regulatory change. And we mentioned about the huge amount of geopolitical events that have happened and how quickly things like the sanctions regime has had to react to Russia-Ukraine war. There's definitely been a step forward as well in regulation associated with crypto and digital assets. The UK Financial Services Authority have brought quite a bit of regulation associated with that. But I would say that if I had to pick the single biggest one, it's as Okan mentioned, it's definitely been the commentary, the excitement, and all the fear around AI. And I think that's going to be and has been sort of central to how fintechs embrace that. I think it's got a lot of potential, but it's also got some downsides as well. I remember watching the US Senate had several committees on the sort of future of AI earlier in 2023, and one of the senators said, it can either be seen as the equivalent of the invention of the printing press or the invention of the atomic bomb, depending on how it's used. And I think that's quite a standout statement for me in terms of that feature and the impact of fintech in 23.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel you can almost, it's impossible not to talk about AI when you think about this past year, because I think just how much it's raised, even just like in the consumer world as well, because I feel like everyone's talking about like ChatGPT and other similar things right now. I think AI has really just gotten everyone in a chokehold. So I think it's really interesting to sort of see the different perspectives of AI and how it might play out as we come along. I think, what then are some of the trends that have particularly excited you this year? I feel like there's been quite a few different ones popping up here and there. AI, of course, we just mentioned, that was obviously a big one. But is there anything in particular that has really excited you personally that you've seen in fintech? Will, I'll ask you that one first.
Yeah, I think there's been two things for me. One is still that AI theme, and then, but specifically under that big umbrella, there's obviously been a lot around generative AI and large language models. So, there is huge potential there in terms of across multiple use cases, and not just from a financial crime compliance detection prevention that I operate in, but everything from customer service and beyond for fintechs. So I think there's a lot of potential that's excited me personally in terms of keeping pace with how quickly that is innovating and how quickly that is progressing, and making sure that we're future-proofing all of our solutions to embrace that technology. So that's definitely been one. I think the other one for me that I've sort of noticed, particularly this year, and it's been quite exciting, is that sort of been that idea of sort of embedded finance as a theme. So the growth of that banking as a service and finance offerings being sort of branched out and embedded beyond, again, the traditional financial providers. And so, that specifically for me and for our industry has sort of morphed into compliance as a service as well. So being able to sort of work with increasing amount of people that are offering sort of plug-in and plug-out services. Particularly for us, we've done a lot of work with asset servicing companies, people that are third-party administrators for asset managers and are sort of offering compliance as a service through to their end customers. So that's been an exciting model, a utility-type model. It's been very disruptive, and it's been great to be part of that within Napier.
Brilliant, fantastic stuff. Okay, how about you? What of the trends that have you seen that have particularly excited you in 2023?
Sure. I mean, very similar to Will, probably in terms of under the umbrella of AI, we are thinking about three buckets. So one is, how do we use it to do things better internally? How do we use it to help our direct customers? And then how do we use it to help our customers' customers? So, and out of those, I mean, internal one, how do we work better, and what would the relationship between engineering and product will look like in the future is very exciting to me, because I think there are a lot of opportunities using AI where those teams can work even closer together, and there is already a lot of conversation in the industry around this. What are the best ways to do that? So because generative AI's ability to even develop code, and that brings us up opportunities where product can play a bigger role in terms of creating that initial code, and then again, engineers can play a different role in the new world. So I think this is going to be figured out in the next few years. What's the best way to use AI? And then in a few years, very short, not too far away, but I think 1 or 2 years, we may see the way engineers and product work very differently. So that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think there's definitely a lot to be excited about moving forward. I'd love to turn the discussion more towards your own companies now, in terms of how 2023 has been for you and the kind of things that you've achieved, and just basically I give you opportunity to shout about your companies a little bit. So, Okan, how has 2023 been for 10x Banking?
Sure. So 10x Banking has been very successful, powering some of the well-known greenfield banks and banking as a service type of solutions. And then throughout 2023, we made a lot of investment to increase our footprint in terms of what we can do, offer out of the box from our solution. And specifically on lending side, we were able to create more options for our customers. And in terms of segment, building upon our success on the greenfield and banking as a service applications, we also developed functionality to serve the upper end of the market as well. So I believe that that's going to be very well received with tier one banks, and we are getting a lot of interest already. So I believe that what we have done in 2023 will create the foundation for significant growth on that side of the banking segment.
Amazing. And how about for Napier? Will, how has 2023 been for you?
Yeah, I think that it's been a fantastic year for us, and very exciting year. We continue to grow across all of our sector focuses. Lucky to work with some fantastic payment service providers, with neo banks, greenfield banks, also the more traditional banking, gaming, gambling. So we've continued to grow across the sectors. We've been lucky enough as well to work on innovation partnerships with some regulators, which has been really insightful and helps to drive our roadmap and inform the sort of next generation of our product. But I think the sort of single standout for us is, it talks to a lot of the themes we've just talked about, has been the delivery of our next generation client screening module. that is enabling scalability and performance for real-time screening. And I think that is an increasing trend, because as customers are in digital channels, opening accounts or making transactions, they need, for that to be seamless, they need to be screened against sanctions, adverse media in a very quick way, pre-settlement trades, pre-opening of accounts, and for that to be seamless. So from an experience perspective and a journey perspective, it's not disruptive. So that scalability, that performance, that real-time capabilities, obviously as part of that, we fully embraced and fully leveraged the latest AI technology to provide the most accurate fuzzy matching of names, so that can be done in the most optimal and efficient way possible. So it's been great to see that particular module live and be rolled out across the globe and across different sectors.
Amazing. That sounds absolutely fantastic. I think it's great to hear such great results from fintech companies this year. I guess looking ahead then to 2024, it's not too far away. Really creeping up on us now, and I'm sure December will absolutely fly by. What do you think will be the major trends in 2024? Is that something that we can even predict, or is it something that could, we don't know really what's going to happen until it happens? But I'd love to know what kind of things you think are going to be sort of ticking away in the background. I mean, Will, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I think, the themes that I mentioned that have run from 22 into 23, and they will continue to run into 24 and present their own challenges. So, ever increasing choice, the speed, the need for seamless connected digital journeys, transparency, regulatory change. I'm sure that will still continue to evolve into next year. And, there may be geopolitical events that will fuel that regulatory change as well, that we can't all foresee. So I think there'll absolutely be continuing trends. I think a few others for me that might become more obvious and maybe more specific particularly within the financial crime spaces, for me, is one about convergence. And what I mean by convergence is, within that financial crime sphere, in the fintech world, things are still done in a very siloed way in terms of transaction screening, transaction monitoring, fraud detection, onboarding, and it's siloed in terms of systems, process, people. And I think, a convergence of that to drive more insightful 360 views of the customer. So there isn't duplication of activity. There's streamlined and efficient technology costs, but you're also, providing that customer with the most seamless journey you can, and you've also got a full 360 view of their behaviours in terms that will help you in terms of where and how you sell to them, but also their behaviours in terms of how that will help prevent financial crime and fraud. So I think that convergence is important, and we are certainly embracing that it's not always about having to rip out all the systems you have, but sometimes it needs an aggregation layer, an augmentation layer, that you can converge all of your ecosystem into one place to get that 360 view of the customer, and to sort of get a perpetual view of customer behaviours and customer risk. So that's definitely a sort of trend that we're seeing, particularly in our space for next year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Arkan, how about you? What trends are you thinking are going to emerge in 2024?
Sure. I mean, as Will said, some of these macro topics we talked about will continue, although there seems to be some improvements happening in the US in terms of interest rates slowing down, which will lead to maybe a little bit more opportunity in terms of raising funds for fintechs. But we don't know, how it's going to settle. So that means the companies are going to be more careful with their investments, and when they decide, what products to build, they will pay more attention to fundamentals and unit economics and those types of things. So in terms of macro I think that's the view in 2024. In terms of trends, like product trends in 24, I believe on back of investments from Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, there'll be more push to cloud in more countries and more regions, and then banks who have been using older stacks will consider, more of them will consider moving to cloud, and that need is even increasing now on back of what we talked about earlier, using AI tools, providing more services to their customers, to consumers. Banks need newer stacks, technology stacks. So that's going to pressure them to invest more on technology. And on back of higher interest income, I think they will have more funds to be able to do that in 2024. I would say in terms of, what we talked about earlier on interest on AI, I'm sure we'll see more ideas, startups, and developments will emerge in 2024 related to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you anticipate anything unexpected for the industry in the next coming year? Obviously, I know it's hard to anticipate the unexpected because it is the unexpected. But is there anything you think that maybe we might see come out of left field that's sort of quietly tinkering in the way in the background? I mean, Okan, is there anything you can think of?
So I was going to say, yes, it is very difficult to anticipate the unexpected. But I mean, one interesting phenomena that happened in the past financial crisis or macro stressful environments is, the companies get into trouble. They do maybe some people reductions, layoffs, and then those people go create new startups, new fintechs. And then what happens is what may seem like a stressful year, like 2023 or 2024, in terms of small fintech companies struggling, that may lead to a bunch of new startups starting. And then we may see in the next few years that actually what happened is, companies got under pressure, but that led to people starting new companies to address, big customer problems. So we may see that unexpected situation as a result of this macro environment we are in.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Will, how about you? Any surprises you think will come out of the woodwork next year?
I think there's sort of two, whether they're really unexpected or not. I don't know. I think one's definitely, crypto, sort of alternative assets, has been in the doldrums for a while, and that seems to be surging again as we get into the back of this year. Particularly if, like, the US regulators and the SEC approve sort of ETF and the ability to sort of it starts to bring crypto more into the mainstream investing piece. It'd be interesting to see if that then starts to change and accelerate even more the regulation around that, and if it sort of, takes us out the sort of crypto winter that people have been speaking about, and we see a resurgence in exchanges and providers and broader fintech's response to those assets. So that's certainly one thing that could surprise us. I think the second one, going back to AI and Gen AI, and I think it was Gartner when they published their 2023 sort of hype cycle for emerging technologies, they said generative AI is sort of at the peak of inflated expectations at the minute, and not to take away from the potential that there is with it. It absolutely is transformational, but you feel that actually there might be a sort of realism against actually, where the technology's at and what it can actually achieve today and next year versus where the expectations and the hype actually is. And if I look for our particular industry, it's no good embracing ChatGPT if there isn't explainability and audibility of the answers it's giving you. you need to be able to stand in front of a regulator and explain why you made a decision on a client's particular financial crime risk. That has to be from an auditable and traceable source, and there's still a way to go until that generative AI is producing audit trails that are strong enough for Reliance to stand up in front of courts and regulators, etc. So I think that could be a bit of unexpected as well, that we might see a bit of cooling off as people start to actually realise there's a bit of hype that's a bit above the actual current capabilities, and I think we'll just see a recheck of how people embrace it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think, it's going to be an interesting year regardless of what happens. But I think, to see some of the things that you have both spoken about today will be very, very interesting for fintech. I guess turning back then to your own companies, what does 2024 hold for you? What do you have in the pipelines, on the roadmaps? That, of course, that you can tell me about. But Will, what does 2024 hope to be for Napier?
Well, we're in a very lucky position that we are still investing heavily in terms of our R&D in our product and in our roadmap. So we've got lots of developments that are coming for our product, and it's going to benefit our existing clients and hopefully future new clients. So, we continue on our no-code revolution, as we call it. So putting as much power into the hands of the end user as possible. So being able to, build your own workflows, build your own reports, build your own rules, do your own configuration. That obviously creates a lot of flexibility for our users, but also keeps a very low cost of ownership for them as well. It gives them a lot of speed to react to changing regulations. So we're going to be continually pushing the boundaries of that. We've got lots of AI improvements that we're making to our existing tech stack, again, to keep pace, but we want to keep pace in line with regulatory expectations and in line with the use cases of the industry, and not get too far ahead, to my point previous. And I think our roadmap is all about pushing the boundaries of automation in the AML space. And we'll be really excited to see how all that lands and develops for our clients. And I think lastly, we're continuing our design partnerships with regulators, with partners, and with clients. We're all about creating a community that essentially doesn't lose sight of what we're personally here to do, which is to fight financial crime compliance. And there are huge negative impacts to society that come from that. Everything from modern slavery to money muling to fraud. So we're absolutely committed to that as a community within the industry to make sure that we're driving that fight against financial crime forward.
Amazing. All sounds very exciting things to look forward to. Arkan, how about you? Where is 10x Banking going next year?
So as I mentioned earlier, we are making investments to our platform to further cement our best-in-class performance and scalability metrics. And that is putting us solidly to serve both the top and bottom tier banks. And I think I touched on this earlier as well, but the situation is there is new technologies emerging, such as AI we talked about, and then banks are working hard to figure out how to use that to serve their customers better or help them do different things like financial advice and help them save money and do many different ideas. So, but in order to properly serve these customers, they need to be on a newer technology stack. And most banks are on older legacy stacks. In some cases, these technology stacks are going out of support in a few years. So I believe that 2024 is going to be very exciting for us because there is even more demand coming from banks to upgrade their platforms in order to take advantage of these new emerging technologies to help their customers. So yeah, very exciting 2024.
Fantastic. It all sounds brilliant. I think just quickly then, as we are running out of time, I would love to just lastly look at any tips or advice that you might have for fintech companies going into 2024, whether these are small companies looking to grow or just companies looking to break into the market. I'd love to know if you have any sort of helpful advice that you would like to give them. So Arkan, what do you have on this one?
So maybe it's kind of a classic, but I would say make sure you are continuously reviewing your product market fit, because the environment is very dynamic, so things can change. And then secondly is, as part of these macroeconomic comments we made earlier, pay attention to your profitability, your fundamentals, and your unit economics. Make sure you are making the right prioritization decisions and setting up your product roadmap properly.
Amazing stuff. And Will, how about you? Any tips or advice?
Yeah, I think for me, watch out for continuing regulatory change. I think that is not going to abate. There's going to be other geopolitical events, for example, that might rapidly change the sanction regime. So you need the ability to react quickly to that, to minimize any disruption or impact to your business. And which sort of takes me to the second tip, which is making sure that you have technology that's got embedded flexibility. It's scalable, but also that you are embracing things like no-code features that enable you to quickly react and change and configure your solutions to meet changing events in the markets, be those regulatory or be those others. So yeah, I'd finally say, as you go on that journey, pick good partners to work with, people that you trust, and people that can support you in terms of your products and your technology. And often there's a desire always to build it yourself, but I think in a world that is rapidly changing and there's so many specialisms that are disrupting, you can't be all things to all people. And I think sometimes it's about picking strong partners where you combine that technology and work with them to make sure you've got a truly sort of scalable and reactive technology stack.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of our webinar today. Just a quick thank you to our online audience. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to carry on the conversation, make sure you head on over to the Power50 website, power50.com, or you can follow along with our hashtag FP50 Fintech Predictions. It's a bit of a long one. And then Okan, Will, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here and discussing all about the year and the year ahead. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. It's been really appreciated.
Great. Thank you.